Most founders become the biggest bottleneck in their own business without even realizing it. They approve every hire, they make every significant purchase, they make all the important decisions. They know where everything is, how everything works, and who to call when something goes wrong. It feels responsible, it feels like you're in control, it feels like you're protecting the business. But if you're hoping to sell, you should understand that buyers see this very differently. In fact, the more your business depends on you, the riskier it becomes, and the riskier it's perceived, and the less valuable it'll actually be. In this video, I want to show you why founders often become bottlenecks in their own businesses, why it's so hard to let go of control, and how companies with the highest valuations actually operate. All right, so here's the big challenge for many founders and sellers of businesses or hopeful sellers, is they become the bottleneck of the business. Everything runs through them, as I mentioned in the intro to this. They have all of the knowledge, they understand all of the processes. It's all kind of written in them. And this immediately to a buyer, especially if it's a buyer that understands what they're looking for. And this is something else to think about. The buyer may not know what they're looking for, but the lending or the financing behind the buyer often does. And what they're going to look for is to see how dependent is the business on the owner. In fact, this is one of the very first things that buyers look for or lenders look for in a business. It's one of the biggest red flags or risk indicators in the business. And that's the concept that I want to communicate. Maybe the main takeaway is that the more a business depends on you, to you, that might feel like control, but to a buyer or the money behind the buyer, that's going to communicate risk. It's a totally different thing. I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and something that new people in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu frequently do, I used to do this myself, is when you're grappling or fighting with someone, there's a tendency, if someone's on top of you and they're just going to town and you're afraid you're about to get choked or something's going to happen, you grab on and you hold on tight. And it gives you the perception of control. All you're really doing is pulling all of their weight on your body, and you're making it impossible for you to improve your position, for you to advance into a more optimal position to attack them or even get free from them, because you're limiting yourself. You're stuck now. And that's what many owners do unknowingly, is they grab control of everything in their business. They hold the full weight of that on top of them, and they feel like I'm safe now. But in fact, they've limited their potential and their opportunities for growth, for freedom, to be able to sell the business. So why does this happen? It often happens, and it really happens for two reasons. The first one is trust. This is a huge bucket, and it really accounts for a lot of what's going on. Is there's a belief on the part of the owner that no one else cares about this company as much as I do, which you might be right about. No one else will care about my customers as much. No one else will care about quality as much. If I give away any kind of financial decision making or any other of those kinds of sensitive controls, somebody's sure to rob me blind or make a bunch of really foolish decisions that are going to hurt me. And that can happen. There's ways to deal with that. What I often talk about with, or they'll talk about how no one else knows what to do. It's just easier if I do it myself. It's faster if I do it myself. There's all these things that you hear all of the time, and you almost always only hear those kinds of statements from people who are not likely to grow or sell their businesses. So it gives you that sense of control, but it's not helping you get to where you want to go. And so to get to where you want to go, you have to let go of this false sense of security and begin to open yourself up so that you can have more movement. If you're wondering whether you've become the bottleneck in your own business, take my free Value Builder assessment. It will help you identify many of the leadership and operational issues that buyers actually look for and how those will impact value. You'll find a link to that in the description below. Now, let's look at what actually changes in businesses that break this pattern of the founder or owner being the bottleneck. What happens with trust is that we want to be able to build systems of trust. And I have another video that I encourage you to search for on my channel that talks about exactly how do you build that trust. Isn't just an emotion, it's not just a feeling that you have, but there's actual structures and things that you can do that will allow you to have trust, an appropriate, responsible amount of trust in your team and in your people. The irony, as I said, is that there's this belief that the more control I have, the safer my business is. And actually, that's not true. It actually makes the business more vulnerable because everything depends on you. And the statistic is for businesses that are under 10 million in revenue, only 2 out of 10 who try to sell will ever actually find a buyer. And for businesses that do more than 10 million in revenue, only 3 out of 10 will ever find a buyer. The vast majority of all businesses never actually sell. They shut down. And oftentimes it's because the business is dependent on the owner, and the owner gets tired, the owner gets sick, the owner gets hurt, someone in their family does, there's a conflict. There's something that happens that pulls the owner out of the business, and then they just sell their stuff. They sell the tables and chip plates, and then they're done with the business. And that's all that happened, which isn't a moral wrong necessarily, but it probably wasn't what you were dreaming of or hoping for. And given the fact that most entrepreneurs, the majority of their retirement ticket is built on the assumption of the sale of this business, you want to do better than that. And the good news is you can. It's actually not that hard or that tricky. You just have to be willing to let go of control. The other reason, well, it has to do with not knowing, basically not knowing what to watch for or what to do next. So like in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when you start out, there's like millions of moves, it seems like, and you don't know what to do. And so you let go of the person because that's what somebody told you should do, but now they go ahead and, submit you. And so you don't really know what to do. So you have to learn these various techniques that will protect you and help you take advantage of this freedom that you have. So I want to talk about that. And that's in this concept of differentiating the difference between control and accountability. And what you want to move to is from a place of control to overseeing the performance of others. So you're not directly doing the things yourself, you're overseeing how other people get things done. And the challenge in this, along with trust, is this issue of not really knowing what to ask others to do. And so here's what this looks like. And I see this very commonly, and it's something that I work through with a lot of owners, is we have to define, what do you really want your financial person, what will success look like for them? For them to be successful, whether it's a bookkeeper or a controller or a CFO or whatever their position is, what does success look like for them in that role? For your office manager or person that oversees administration, what does success look like for them? What are they supposed to be working on? And how will you see meaningful, valuable, measurable progress? For your person overseeing ops, for your person overseeing sales, for any other major function within your organization, what will success look like? What are the metrics that you're tracking for each of these to see success? Most owners struggle to articulate what they really want from their financial person, their ops, their sales. We just want to do better. I just don't want there to be friction. It's typically what the answers come down to. And the less you are able to define what you really want, the harder it is for you to move from control or the perception of control, the experience of feeling like you're in control, to this place of accountability. Now here's a classic scenario. If I'm talking to the owner of a small business and they're saying, it's impossible, you don't understand, I can't hire good people, right? I hear that all the time. I can't trust that someone else is going to do the right job. Kids these days, you can't do anything with, etc., etc. I'll point to their competition that's 10 times larger than them down the street and say, how are they doing it? They're probably not smarter than you. They're probably not more conscientious than you. How is it that they're running circles around you in the market? And it's because they've done this and because they know how to distribute authority amongst a team, and they know how to track their performance on that team. It's because of things like that that it allows them to grow and harness the power of a much larger team instead of everything being dependent on the owner. That's simply what's going on. So one last concept, and maybe this is a helpful picture for you. I recently bought a new truck. It's a hybrid. I don't control when the electric motor converts to the gas. I don't control when it shifts gears. I don't control the electrical systems and how they operate in the car as far as when sensors or cameras come on and do whatever they do. I don't control any of that. Now, there's some controls I could get into if I wanted to, but for the most part, I don't and don't need to. What I control is the direction. Where am I going in this truck? How fast and how safely am I driving? How effectively am I taking this giant system of systems that are mostly self-managing and get them all where I want them to be so it can get me where I want to be? And that's really how you want to think about your entire business, as a set of systems, and you want to delegate out pieces of authority to each of these functions so they're sharing the load of decision making, of managing quality, of performance, etc. And it's not all running through you, and then you just drive the car. That gives you freedom, and that builds value in your company. Many founders believe that staying involved in every important decision is what protects their business. In reality, it often does the opposite. Now, the goal of letting go of control isn't to make yourself unnecessary. It's to make yourself free. Free to do whatever you want, to start another business, to spend more time with your family. Free to focus on the parts of your business that you actually enjoy and you think are fun, and to not have to do the other stuff. Or, the point of this video, free to sell a company that's fully valuable and transferable to someone else. Remember this: business value often increases as dependency on the owner decreases. In my next video, we'll look at what buyers are really evaluating when they assess your leadership team, and they do look at your leadership team. And I'll explain why having good people isn't necessarily enough to build buyer confidence. I'll see you there.